There we go. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. Delighted that you could all join us here today. Keelan Burke here from Retail Excellence. Today's webinar is all about customer retention, and I think we all can understand that over the last year we've gained a huge increase in online customers, and I think it's really important we try and get them to come back now and keep them involved with your business. So today we've Ger and Louise from StudioForty9 who are going to talk us through some of the key learnings they've seen with their clients over the last year, which promises, in fairness, to be very insightful. We have a great member panel discussion as well coming up after that I'll introduce. We've Niamh Webb O'Rourke from Love Cherish. We've Jennifer Adamson from Michael Murphy Furniture. We've Andrew Page from 3 Mobile. And we've Joe Connelloe from buildforless.ie, which is part of Clondalkin Builders Providers. So to kick off, we'll bring Ger and Louise on there now and let them set up. Just to briefly introduce them, the StudioForty9 are one of Ireland's leading e-commerce agencies. They work with over 200 retailers across Ireland. They were recently announced as a Shopify Plus partner exclusively for Ireland. And they provide a huge and really valuable and great service to so many members. So I think we'll hand over to Ger and Louise there to kick off.
Perfect. Thanks, Keelan. So hi, everyone. My name is Louise, and I'm the growth manager here in StudioForty9. So my goal for our clients is to significantly grow their business year on year. And my team and I use strategic focus planning, and this is to optimize the growth of their bottom line. Today, I'm going to speak to you about the changes we've seen in the past year and where we see some opportunities for growth in this new digital landscape. I'll also present some examples later on where our customers rapidly adapted to change and meet the new expectations of their customers. The retail landscape is forever changed. And with this new normal where customers are feeling buying online is often better, faster, and even more convenient, it opens the door for expansion. And this is across many retail industries. So let's just take a look at what has changed. So firstly, let's start with the customer profile. So in pre-COVID times, the majority of you, when asked who is your target audience, would have easily identified them from a lineup. However, there was an influx of new online customers, and this was as diverse in age from boomers to Gen Z that are now frequenting online stores they'd never shopped on before. So having a customer-centric approach to marketing is now more important than ever, and this is to entice them to keep shopping with you. So did you know 40% of people will spend more than they have planned when the consumer experience is personalized? So personalization has been a trending buzzword for the past number of years, but most brands only change one single element, and perhaps that's the first name or even gender-based products. However, to truly focus on keeping these new customers, you now need to make them feel valued. You need to use all the data you have about them, such as behaviors, preferences, attributes, and create a really tailored shopping experience worth sticking around for. Some key takeaways under this focus to look at would be building trust. So nurture your new audience, focusing on educating them about your brand and reassuring them of your services, perhaps with reviews. Deliver safe shopping. So for the older consumers, they're still a little wary of online shopping. So we need to reassure them throughout the purchase journey. And get personal. So invest in personalization technology and reap the rewards of this growth strategy. So next up, let's see what has changed when it comes to your customers' buying behavior. So online retail was always a growing opportunity for many businesses pre-COVID. However, it became a necessity for many when lockdowns brought the closure of so many of the retail stores. And with these closures came such a demand that so high that it meant you were now competing with everyone from Amazon to your local corner shop for that customer. This meant people were now changing their purchase habits and focusing in on key elements, such as stock levels, delivery speed, and price. So e-commerce is becoming increasingly more saturated, and consumers are already facing that choice overload. So this now means you need to present your customers with a really good reason to engage or buy on repeat. Ease and reliability are also just two elements that a customer wants when purchasing online. So this is why subscription services thrive during lockdown, and it's likely to continue with this increasing growth as well. So companies used marketing messages focusing in on the subscription savings, their convenience and flexibility, which resonated with the consumers who had shifted towards that new digital business model. When offering subscriptions, just remember customers want a choice with their consumption decisions. And that's everything from making changes to their shipping, the timing, and even product selection. So click and collect services offered fulfillment opportunities that were necessary to keep some of the companies afloat during lockdown. And it seems this service is likely to stick around post-pandemic. A big reason is that consumers like the convenience and having that purchase availability at a faster turnaround. Adobe service noted that 31% of the online consumers prefer this buying online pickup and store behavior over standard delivery. So again, some key takeaways under this buying behavior focus. So around fulfillment options, it's just offer multiple delivery solutions, look at click and collect, or even higher price next day delivery service. With subscriptions, you need to improve your customer lifetime value, and it'll also help with your company's inventory forecasting with this service. So today I also wanted to bring a focus, some attention to a new and thriving business model, those of digital first startup. So with only a focus on web and mobile channels. So these digital native vertical brands, or DNVBs, such as Glossier, NatureBox, Warby Parker, or HelloFresh, they keep their business and design manufacturing all in-house and only sell their own products. They range in categories from healthcare to groceries and have seen real unprecedented growth in the past year and have really disrupted that playbook of retail e-commerce, which has been around for decades. How they're doing this is by eliminating the middleman. So that's between the manufacturing, the shipping, and even the traditional brick and mortar store. So this allows really great control for them over cost, the end-to-end manufacturing, and even how they market and distribute. What these companies are doing is rethinking the retail model and focusing in again on the buying behavior and how their customers want to purchase their products online. So D&V brands are growing 3 times as fast as traditional e-commerce retailers. So what's behind the success of these companies, and how can you incorporate it into your more traditional retail model? So firstly, it's all around building a community and treating your customers like their friends. This allows customers to be part of an experience, and they feel they can share their thoughts, experiences with like-minded individuals. Social proof is a large contributor to brand trust, and we've seen more consumers relying on this element when making a buying decision. Another area for the DNVBs excelled in is subscriptions, utilizing this really disruptive business model and pushing it to new limits by renting unusual products such as evening dresses, or reducing that considered phase of shipments by forcing customers into that auto ship subscription around pet foods. Some more takeaways from the DNVBs would be they use cutting edge technologies. So that's again, incorporating the likes of AR into their customer experience, or offering live training sessions from the comfort of your living room like brand Peloton have done. They also stay relevant when it comes to new customer needs. And that's focusing in around sustainability, maybe dietary restrictions, and diversity. And finally, it's creating experiences, offering fun interactions with their products in pop-ups, festivals, or events. So finally, I just want to talk to you about the channel acquisition. So many companies had to adapt quickly and learn to reach their customers through digital channels instead of that normal in-store personal experience. Retailers who had established a strong digital foundation prior to 2020 had seen huge benefits. So we encourage all our StudioForty9 clients to focus on omni-channel marketing strategy and create continuous experience across different touch points, such as social and email. So delivering interactions at the right moment on the right channel allowed an engagement that consumers wanted. It became really evident early on in lockdown that customers were becoming more savvy and demanding than ever. So email continues to drive customer attention, but understanding when and how to communicate to your customers on this platform is super important. This channel has become noisy, similar to social media. So grasping the attention within an already full inbox becomes difficult. There are some easy wins, and that's where understanding that customer lifetime cycle comes into play. Bombarding customers with irrelevant emails will only frustrate them. So, however, if you provide valuable content or timely reminders, this is where a customer will seek your email out of the inbox. So when it comes to social media and lockdown, there was a massive surge with young and old searching for new entertainment. I saw this on TikToks where words uttered more than "I got this in pennies" by most of the Irish people. It became a platform sensation overnight. But only a few brands such as Gucci knew how to create that winning formula, and that was to keep the attention of their viewers. Instagram and Facebook may not have the same increased coverage. However, they did begin moving towards social commerce. While experimentation with emerging channels is wise, it's really important to maintain Facebook as a primary driver. And this will ensure you're getting the most effective marketing strategy. So 49% of consumers say that they depend on influencer recommendations. Brands utilize these influencers to broaden audiences and drive affiliate marketing by creating less traditional adverts and focusing in again more on community-based storytelling. For years, Facebook has had a pixel sitting on virtually every website on the internet, tracking your behavior across these sites. The data has given birth to the map of purchase intent unlike anything in the world. With stricter privacy laws, however, around data emerging, such as iOS 14, targeting your customer with personalized experiences is becoming harder. The key to success is to build a first-party, permission-based, data-driven strategy. So just some final takeaways. With email, it's super important to have an onboarding and welcome journey. Customize it to the level where you can educate them on the brand. Social, find where your audience are most active on, whether it's Pinterest, TikTok, and build relevant content on these platforms. This will move the traffic back to your website. And finally, with first-party data, utilize the data you have. So that's on e-commerce platforms, your social, email, and even in-store data, and create a tailored, valuable shopping experience for your customers. Ger, I'll pass you over now, who's going to go through some figures from the past year.
Thanks, Louise. So the first thing I want to talk about is the changed topology of e-commerce. One of the graphs that I'd be most interested in is a chart here, which looks like very much like a mountain range, which charts revenues from, so these are the average revenues of about 20 of our clients who've been involved in e-commerce for well over 3 years. So these are not new to e-commerce. And what we're seeing is a subtle raise in revenues over the course of 2019, a peak in Black Friday, which we're going to refer to as the 1x peak revenue, and then a slowdown towards the end of the year until February 2020. And then, of course, we see the start of the lockdown and the enormous rise in sales online to where we see a 2.4 times peak revenue in May 2020. And then a 3.2 times peak revenue for Black Friday 2020. Of course, since then, it's been slowing down somewhat, and we have had the stores reopen in May 21. But even still, in June 21, we have a 1.1 times peak revenue. So we're doing, at the moment, in revenues, what we used to do at peak in 2019. So not necessarily a bad thing. But that said, one of the main things that strikes me when I look at this chart is that there's gold in these hills. The revenue growth means lots and lots of new customers, which is, of course, a huge opportunity for online retailers. But I suppose to take a step back, at StudioForty9, we've been thinking a lot about customer retention over the years. It's been something that's been on our minds for a long time. We know that it's cheaper to market to existing customers. We know that we can market to them more effectively. We can call them by name, we know what they've purchased, and therefore what they might like, or even what they may now need based on their previous purchases. For example, a customer who buys puppy food will one day need adult dog food. A customer who buys a baby's cot will one day need a stroller for a toddler. A customer who buys fast fashion top for a night out will probably want a new one every couple of weeks. So we can make a good guess at what the customer needs. We can probably even make a good guess at when they need it. But how do we create a model of working on customer retention that is useful and practical? Well, we start by, a story around what gets measured gets done. A number of years ago, AO.com were going for an IPO, and they published some information about how they increased their revenues online. At one stage in their e-commerce journey, they started measuring their customer retention rate. They counted the number of customers who ordered more than once, and when they started the counting, they established that they had an initial retention rate of 11%. So obviously they started to ask the question, well, why aren't the other 89% not coming back and buying again? They started focusing on not just winning new customers, but on tactics to market to existing customers. They found that this sort of marketing was much cheaper and easier than marketing to new customers. At the time the article was written, they had managed to increase their retention rate to something like 29%, and that was over the course of about 2 years. They dramatically increased their revenue through retained customers and slashed their cost per order, marketing cost, because instead of targeting customers to purchase just once, they were working on making the lifetime value of their customers far higher, offsetting their acquisition costs against a much larger return. Having read this, I started to wonder about the obvious questions. How can we measure retention rate on e-commerce sites? What is the lifetime of a customer? What are the cohorts of customer loyalty? How much is each cohort worth? How frequently does each cohort purchase? And how do I work on moving a customer from one cohort to the next? I initially came up with a fairly arbitrary grouping of loyalty cohorts based on the number of orders a customer made. A single was one order customer, double 2 order customer, and so on. I basically effectively made this up and decided that, okay, loyal customers were customers who had bought around 6 to 10 orders and so on. I then wanted to get an understanding of the lifetime value of each customer group and how valuable would it be to me to get a customer from one group to move into the next cohort. The interesting thing that I saw is that a customer who purchased more than once was actually worth more per order than a single customer. So here we can see that a double customer is worth more than twice what the single order customer is worth to me. At this stage, I started to think about when customers move from one group to the next. So I started to try and understand the frequency of customers making new orders so that I could make predictions about when customers were thinking of a new purchase, and I could optimize marketing campaigns to encourage them to do that. I could see that if I spent a little budget to focus on customers who bought from me about 130 days earlier, I might have a good chance of moving them from one cohort to the next, and that my customers would be worth over twice what they were worth when they were single customers. It also means that my spend to acquire that customer in the first place could be spread across multiple orders, giving me a better return on investment. The next most obvious question was to ask what the retention rate was for the sites that we worked on. How good are the sites at retaining customers already, and what sort of benchmarks could we look at? Well, we started looking into retention rates across sites, and earlier on this year, we took a sampling across some retailers to get a 4-year average, which we can see here. Over 4 years, we saw that the retention rate was in the region of 25% overall, with a lower end of circa 15% and an upper end of about 30%. We then stepped 2020 out on its own to see how net new customers in 2020 were retained. These were customers who were brand new to the site in 2020, having never purchased before. Our definition, by the way, of a customer is based on email addresses. It's really interesting to see how consistent the retention rate has been over time. And what's fascinating is to see how the number of sales ramped up, even within 12 months, or I suppose 9 months really, because it really ramped up after March. And that proved that people were very willing to come back and purchase from sites within a shorter space of time. For example, we can also see here, with another interesting thing is that there was more than 1,750 customers on average here who ordered more than 4 times within 9 months. Finally, also of note is the fact that 61% of the all-time customers were actually registered in 2020, where we saw nearly 37,000 new customers versus 23,000 in the preceding 3 years. So that gives you an idea of the size of the opportunity and the size of the database that you have available to you. So the next thing we wanted to look at was we wanted to model to see how hard it would be, how much effort was needed to move a customer from one cohort to the next. Getting a customer from being a single order customer to being a 2-time customer was the hardest. We had a kind of a 25% chance of getting them from one level to the next. But once we got them to the next level, it was easier to get them to level 3, where we had a circa 50% chance. And then we could start to move them up, and it got increasingly easier over time. And when we plotted this out further, and this is a very extreme example, but what we could see is a chart of the likelihood that a customer will move from one order to the next. We can see that the first 5 orders are slow going and take effort, but at around order 6, things become easier, and the customer is then pretty likely to repurchase at regular and predictable rates from then on. This approach allows us to understand that the point of hyper loyalty begins at around the 6 order mark here. It gives us some data around when to try to move a customer from one stage to the next and to make some decisions about the value of that marketing work. When you look at this, you can see that there's a point in the journey where you need to invest to promote and persuade to get the reorder. But then at a later stage, you go into kind of a maintenance phase where we have loyal customers and we mainly need to keep in contact with them and ensure that they don't drop out. When we have that model, we can then start to identify clients who are in various stages and tag the customers and market to them accordingly. Obviously, having lots of data and more dashboards is not particularly useful if you can't turn it into practical outcomes and actions. But we can see who our potential repurchasers are. So we can split our customer base into first timers, people who show promise for a new purchase, superstars and regular customers. We can split them into the kind of the time in the journey that they're at. Is there a repurchase due? Are they a potential churner? Are they somebody who's going to leave us, or have they already churned? We can also see information about the value of the customer. Are they high margin, or do they only buy during sale time? Are they a balanced customer? And using that sort of information, we can start to make very, very good decisions and kind of fine control decisions around how we want to market to each cohort and the value that will be there for us in bringing somebody from one level to the next level. And that then brings us back full circle to the concept of what gets measured gets done. So in order to do this measurement, we have a new equation. I think you may all be used to the equation of online revenue, which is sessions by conversion rate by average order value equals your total revenue. Well, in this case, we have a customer growth equation. It allows us to measure the impact of the actions we take on a monthly basis. So if we look at this, what we have is the number of active customers at the start of the month. Those are the customers who haven't yet churned. We then have the new addition. So this is our new customer acquisition marketing. So your standard trying to drive traffic to the website. We then remove the new churns. So these are the customers who were due to repurchase, but didn't repurchase at the expected time. And now we are considering them as effectively lost customers, and that happens. And then we add in our reactivation. So these are the customers who we successfully persuaded to purchase from us again, to give us a number at the end of the month for how many active customers we have. And that allows us then to figure out what kind of growth we're getting in customers of about, in this case, about 3.5%. So with that in mind, we would use this information to decide on actions, to determine our budgets and our marketing strategy at the various stages in the customer journey. And then we use the customer growth equation to measure how, the impact of that. So I think, Louise, you're going to tell us a few more practical examples of how we do customer retention and the kind of value it can bring.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks, Jer. So I'm going to show you some of the marketing strategies we've been putting in place to drive customer retention for our StudioForty9 clients. So the first one here is just your staple welcome email series. This is every company needs to put this in place. It's helping you to onboard your customers. It allows them to get a real feel and education around your offerings as well. So the one here you can see on the next slide is an example from Evergreen Health Food Store. This series helped their customers gauge what services and products the company actually offered, along with promoting their social channels to help them stay connected with their customers. This series is after generating 13% of the brand's online revenue. With the next one here is your abandoned cart series. So this is really your first approach at customer retention, because you're reminding the customer of products they've already put in their add to cart. So Evergreen have actually had a 10% conversion rate from this email series and used elements such as brand trust and product recommendations to entice the customers back on to the website. The next one here then is Love Cherished. So Love Cherished were one of the clients that actually adapted really quickly and wanted to reward their customers for their loyalty during the pandemic. We helped Maeve, Niamh, and the girls all create this beautiful loyalty series, which actually had great success. So on this next slide here, yeah, thanks. This series was a key driver in improving repeat purchase behavior. So we were making their customers feel appreciated for their loyalty, and Maeve and the team had already built this really great community among their audience. So this just helped them be rewarded and any value each sale that was online or even in store. The next up is a strategy we found helpful to drive some subscriber rates, which is a gamified option. So the example shown here is one we ran for Willow on their company's birthday weekend. This allowed some new users on the website to sign up and have a chance to win a prize. This actually increased the subscriber rate by 15% over 3 days. Another solution to increasing your subscriber rate is to drive that Facebook audience back over to the website by running some lead generation ads. Here you can see a competition we put on place for Phelan's Pharmacy across their Facebook and Instagram channels. And the objective here again was to drive that traffic to sign up and enter that email marketing funnel. So this advert has quite a limited budget behind it, but it has already had over 200 really highly qualified lead generations. The solution that allows for retargeting more and then to push onto the social channels. So finally, here's an example, I suppose, of driving customer attention on social ads. This is by creating a full marketing strategy for greens. We were able to then use some conversion adverts to drive sales. These conversion adverts are similar to abandoned carts, and they use dynamic ads, so we'll deliver products that are actually similar to the ones that they've been purchasing. And greens have had huge success, with some of their campaigns having over or nearly close to 4,000% return on ad spend. So these are the quick performance marketing tips from our side on customer retention. But if you have any queries, you can get in touch with us or opportunities to grow your company.
Super. Thanks, Louise, and thanks, Ger. Some really interesting nuggets there. The graphs and everything, Ger, were phenomenal. Great to see that we're still well ahead of previous years. So I'd like to introduce our panel next. So we have Niamh Webb O'Rourke. She's the HR Digital Marketing Manager with Love Cherish. We have Jennifer Adamson, the Marketing and E-commerce Manager with Michael Murphy Furniture. We've Andrew Page, he's the Digital Commerce Manager with 3 Mobile. And we've Joseph O'Connella, who is the E-commerce Manager with buildforless.ie. And I'll just bring up that slide there now. Next. 1 sec. Super. So maybe Jen, we might go to you first. I suppose in the home and furniture section, seeing massive growth with everyone, staying at home over the last year. Maybe talk us through how you've handled the growth in the customer numbers.
Yeah, I suppose we're constantly fine-tuning our user experience on the site, and some of our main focus areas over the past few months have been really the homepage and the checkout experience. So when a customer lands on the site, they're greeted with a personalized suite of product recommendations for them. We've upgraded to animated slider graphics to showcase our latest offers, but in a bit more of a dynamic format. And updates at checkout levels, such as error code and address generator, have really reduced abandoned cart rates. I suppose overall increased visibility of the likes of our Trustpilot score and service reviews have really helped build trust, increase repeat business, and ultimately really increase conversion rates.
Super. Thanks, Jen. That's great. We've Niamh there as well from Love Cherish. Niamh, welcome. I hear you've been doing phenomenal growth down there in Charleville. Maybe just talk us through how you've managed to cope with the increase over the last little while.
I suppose I'm with the business for about 12 months now, and the rapid growth, it was probably the start of lockdown, really, when I started working with Love Cherish, and the growth over the 12 months has been phenomenal. While getting new customers has been a challenge, but also quite an easy challenge over lockdown, because people were more inclined to try out new businesses and to shop at new people. It was to get them to repeat shop with us. And that how we continued that was we pride ourselves in like relatability. We don't want to be, we say small business, big heart. While we're growing rapidly, we want customers to know that they can reach every single one of us if they have a question, if they have anything like that. And while that's more challenging as the business grows, it is brilliant that customers feel like they can reach out to us, and that's why they continue to repeat purchase with us, because they know they can trust us. If we don't think something will suit the customer, we will tell them that it doesn't suit them. And I think they appreciate that honesty, that we are not going to lead them astray just to make the sale. We're going to do our best to get them to build a relationship with us.
Yeah, super. Yeah, I know that sounds like you're really on the ball, Niamh. Fair play. Joe, maybe just to bring you in, I suppose from a builders merchants point of view, what traditionally not a huge online business, but obviously seeing massive growth as well. Talk us through how it's been on your side.
Yeah, massive in the percentage of people willing to buy the products online. There always was a bit of an audience there, but it's obviously grown, as everyone knows. But what we saw as well was that there was a growth in what we would call the light DIY customer. Someone might just want a tin of paint, so rather than someone who's building a shed, for example. So with these new customers, I think there was a want on their behalf of more information, as they wouldn't be overly familiar with the products. They might be looking at YouTube videos on how to build something or how to fix something in the house. So it was important to kind of deal with suppliers more closely to get information about the products from them. And again, what was important to us was customer service on this side, as again, unusual products purchases that they might make once a year, maybe biannually. So yeah, we've had our live chats and telephone would assist in about 30% of our sales. So we were home delivery exclusively, despite having 4 stores around Dublin. So we opened up that sales channel of click and collect. We found with these kind of new customers that we're getting, they liked to see the products. They wanted to make sure that the paving slab was the color that they wanted to buy. So it was great to open up that sales channel of click and collect. Also keeping down return rates. Returns for us are, with clothes, it might be send an item back in the post, but for us, we have to send a van out and pick up the ton bag out of someone's garden. So that's a truck and a truck with a crane as well. So keeping returns down for us is quite important. And then I suppose we were exclusively home delivery, but again, shifting large bulk items, so insulation, roof, windows, that type of thing. But with these new customers coming in, we got an agreement with a courier who was willing to deliver paint around Ireland. So we've set up different delivery rates for the smaller items, like a tube of silicone for a small kind of what we'd call a DIY job. And then also just linking into our stock system so that people know that when they view a product that they have confidence that it's in store, so they can see it's in Coolock, it's in Clondalkin, it's in Ringsend, or it's in Blackrock, and they have that confidence when they get in their van or car that it's going to be there. They're not going to be disappointed when they arrive.
Yeah, no, crucial. Yeah, definitely. That's the next level, I think, for a lot of people is that live stock per store. So fair play. Andrew, just to bring you in, I suppose from a telecoms point of view, you know, customer service and retention is key as well. How's the last year been, and maybe talk us through how you're managing to keep customers coming back?
Yeah, I suppose like all online businesses, we saw a surge in traffic, sales numbers, customer demand, but not only, I suppose, on the Tree website, where we also saw it was in the social channels and the marketing, the other digital marketing channels. In particular, we did see a surge in connections with mobile phones. So as a result, everything we do now, development-wise or design-wise, is always going to be mobile first focused. I think a real benefit for us during, I suppose, the last 18 months or the lockdown in particular, is that it allowed us to adapt and react by launching certain initiatives that fit quite well, in particular to mobile. If I take an example of something we launched there not so long ago, it's called Tree Live, where we actually live stream events such as product launches now. And the reason we do that and the reason we brought that on is because it sits really, really well on your mobile phone on our website. But then what we also do is have that dual benefit of where we download, let's say, that video and that promotion, and then we upload it to our social channels, which we already know are optimized for mobile with their various apps and have huge traction and demand there. So it's really, we've grown quite a bit and we've learned quite a bit over the last 18 months, but definitely has been a huge benefit to the development of our platform.
Okay. Super, great, good to hear. Niamh, just to bring you back in, maybe talk us through all the different types of content you're creating down there, which I'm sure is playing a key role in bringing people back again. You know, you use a lot of video, you've style guides, you've the staff trying on stuff. You know, talk us through maybe small bit about that.
I suppose over the last 12 months, we've created like a love cherished community more than anything else. We're very much trying to stay ahead of the trend in social media of creating content constantly, and video being our main port of content over the last few months. We find though with social media, it is our biggest generator of sales. People like that they're able to contact us, and Maeve, the owner of Love Cherish, is the best person to sell to them because they trust her. She's built this brand from just a small store to what it is today, and that's, I think, why customers are enjoying our content. And we try to have a bit of fun with it as well. While we do want to sell products, we do want to get people's attention, so we do funny TikToks and reels, and we make a fool of ourselves half the time, and we get all the team involved. But I think it's because we don't take ourselves too seriously on social media that customers are like, I can do that, that's attainable to me, I can wear that dress and I make a fool out of myself, and I think that's what they enjoy. They don't feel like it's something they can't reach, that it's a brand they can connect to. So yeah, social media has been massive with our growth over the last 12 months. Yeah,
no, super, no, great. And Jennifer, just maybe come back to you. In fairness, you've a really great interactive search bar on your site, which I'm sure helps a lot in terms of bringing people back. Maybe talk us through a little bit on that front.
Yeah, it's a fantastic function. It's a smart search toolbar basically. So it uses AR to deliver the most accurate search results to our customers. So it serves up the results as they're typing it in, and it has a different unique functions like voice search, visually similar search, and image search. So if a customer is trying to match up something in their home, or they've seen something in a different shop and they want to see what we have that's similar, they can upload a photo of that. Our smart search also corrects like misspellings, and you can work off descriptions rather than specific terms. So rather than searching for an Alex sofa, if you're just in the market for a navy sofa, you can pop navy velvet sofa in and you'll get all the listings out there. So we've had great feedback on it so far, and it's definitely one of, I think, our key functions that we've implemented over the last 12 months.
Yeah, no, it's really good. Louise and Jer, maybe just bring you back. Maybe is there any, I suppose, key areas to focus on that you'd like to maybe just highlight in terms of that everyone needs to focus on to improve that customer retention?
Is that me, Jer, or you?
That was me, but I was having trouble finding amongst all these windows. Yeah, I suppose the main thing from my point of view, but I guess I'm always a bit of a numbers guy, is the measurement side of things. I think it's really important to try and get an idea of what your retention rate is so that you can work on it. I'm a big believer in the what gets measured gets done. I think it would be important to try and figure out where on the journey your customers need the most kind of, let's say, help to persuade them to move to the next level, and when they're starting to just need a bit of maintenance and that sort of thing. I also think from a return on investment point of view, it's really important to spread the cost, because the initial acquisition of a customer is really expensive. So it's really important to spread the cost of that across multiple orders. So, if it costs you, I don't know, 20 euros to acquire a customer in the first instance, well, you'd really prefer that customer to spend, 180 or 260 euros with you, as opposed to just 70 or 80 euros with you. So having a plan for continuing that relationship and for ensuring that, at the very least, you make an attempt to try and get a customer from the first sale to the second sale, at the very least. And ideally, if you can, try and measure that so that you can, how you're getting on and whether it's working, and give yourself a pat on the back if needs be. Yeah.
Good. And Joe, just maybe swing back to you, I suppose. In terms of your sector, obviously there's been huge stock delays, which a lot of members have experienced as well. The poor Suez Canal seems to have disrupted every stock order in the country. But I suppose, how have you managed that communication process, when things might slightly get delayed, or maybe just talk us through a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we've been lucky enough, actually, in a lot of the online sellers have been generally okay. So a lot of the big online sellers, apart from two quite big ones, which were roof windows, and just recently insulation has been hit quite a bit. So it's been a kind of constant thing. What we've been, what we behave like as a company is open and honest. So sort of like what Niamh was saying, we're a local company, so we're open and honest with the customers. We tell them the delay on the website. Obviously, not everyone reads what's written on the website. So whether it's 2 to 3 weeks that's written there, whatever it is, if someone's ordered a line item that's got a delay on us, we'll give them a call back, let them know, and if it's an issue with that line item, we'll remove it and do the rest of their order, or we'll tell them we'll ship that in 2 to 3 weeks. In general, they've been fine. They've been understanding, because I think it's quite publicized that construction materials are facing major issues. So they've been, in general, fine. With regards to our account customers, which would be more so at store level currently, I suppose getting the communication piece right with them, I suppose we've become experts in understanding, I suppose, commerce issues around the world. Like there's outlying issues in the Far East that are causing issues for us. People not working in factories in Europe, therefore a particular part isn't done, therefore the category is delayed, all sorts of stuff like this. So with ourselves, with our account customers, definitely email and SMS have worked the best. And then listing the stock on the website. So I mentioned earlier on that the website would tell customers what's in the store. That means that the website is actually doing a lot of legwork where you're avoiding a lot of calls coming into the office saying, have you got this particular type of installation? They can see on the website whether it's there or whether it's out of stock. So it's freeing up the sales agents to actually go on what they do best, which is sell.
Good to hear. And Andrew, just bring you back in, I suppose, similarly, customer support is a big thing in telecoms as well. How has the live chat been for you and the overall, I suppose, customer support angle online over the last little while?
Yeah, but online chat was key, I suppose, specifically in customer retention over the last 18 months, especially around the lockdown. From a care point of view, it's great that it enables our agents to, answer any queries, with their accounts or anything like that, their billing. But it also allows them to assist with an upgrade or as you guys probably call it, a retention sale. But additionally, what we actually did during this period is we tactically allowed the chat to connect our customers directly to our retail sales staff. So we placed these specific chats on the sales page or the upgrade page, and then the consumer would be able to chat to an expert in the area. And I suppose that was what the idea is to, I suppose, match customer journey or intent with the device plan and expertise. So as a result of doing something like that and benefiting from the chat function, we definitely saw a huge increase in conversion.
Great, good to know. That's good to hear. I think, that's a key point there, is having it nearly on specific pages, that it can be a bit obtrusive if it's on every page. Niamh, maybe just, Louise talked about how, you implemented a great loyalty program there. Talk us through what's the initial findings out of that? How's the response been?
We launched our loyalty program just at the start of this year, and to be honest, we've had a great response from it. I think customers are looking for that reward for shopping with us, because we had quite a high number of repeat customers and loyal customers that they were hoping to receive something in return for their loyalty, and it's been a huge success. And we give that exclusivity to them. If something is launching, they get it prior to just a standard customer, and I think they appreciate that resonance that we give them, that they are a loyal customer to us. So no, we can't fault the loyalty program at all. It's the best thing we ever did in retaining customers, and it's drawing the new customers now over to the loyalty program is our next issue. But it's been so far so good. But I think it's to get the newer customers to come back to us in terms of the loyalty, because the ones that we have there are well and truly loyal. And I appreciate everything to do with the brand. Yeah,
and I suppose it's as Ger said, it's helping to move up that purchase journey from one order to 3 to 6. Yeah. Good. No, that's interesting. Jen, maybe just to bring you back in there. I suppose furniture and that was historically a very touchy-feely category. How has the last year been in terms of reassuring people to make that big ticket purchase
online? I suppose we're continuously improving our content online. So we shoot the likes of clear cut and lifestyle product photography for every item that you'll see on the website. When we found that when we introduced product video to product listings, we did see an increase in conversion of those higher ticket items. So I suppose the next step for us in that journey was to offer customers the chance to try out the product in their home or as close as they can get, which is where our augmented reality collection came through. So we're not long launched with it, but it allows customers to try out the product using their camera phone in their house, walk around the product, see how it sits in place. We're in the process of growing the collection, but we've seen fantastic results so far with the collection, both online and in store.
Great. Super. Oh, that's good to hear. Joe, there's a question in there from Erica just around how do you communicate, I suppose, stock outages to staff on the floor. I presume, do you send a daily or weekly update on stock, or
Yeah, that would be mainly from our purchasing department. So they would communicate stockouts ad hoc as well as a weekly report. So and then our API, which reads from our stocking system to our website, that reads it once an hour. So yeah, that's updated pretty much every hour, and so the customers know. And the staff are known, but there's more internal communication on the staff.
Great, super. And Louise, we won't forget you there. I suppose, is there any interesting apps or plugins you've come across from your side that'll be worth exploring around this area?
I suppose, like, when you think about it, it's again where everyone's been talking about, it's that customer journey, and it's understanding what apps and what services to start introducing. So whether it's a new person coming onto the store and they come on for that second time after looking, are they seeing new products? Has it been personalized to them? So the likes of Nosto and these kind of personalization tools that are showing what they've recently viewed and things like that. Some other ones, I suppose, around customer service would be Gorgias, which would help people again, or even messengers and things like that. So you have that connection to the store. So if you want to ask questions to find out more about a product and things, especially when we couldn't go into stores. And then there's always just focusing back into your email, your social. So like optimizing these platforms is really just key. They have so much capabilities when you look at the data, especially the email platforms, and then how you can tie them in with things like trust reviews, build that brand loyalty up again. So yeah, it's kind of endless. So yeah, there just seems to be a lot out there now.
Okay, good. Well, they're good places to start, I think, definitely. You know, the worst thing is when you place an order and it just goes silent after that and you don't hear any more. So definitely those automations need to be looked at for everyone. That's super. I think maybe just one final question briefly to everyone. I suppose, Jennifer, you're first on my screen, but in terms of future plans or future areas you're looking at, anything in particular?
I suppose for us, the big focus right now is the augmented reality collection and growing that online. And I suppose just making more of the journey between online and in-store a little bit more seamless.
Okay, good. Yeah, fair point. Niamh, maybe, you know, similar question to you. What's your next focus?
I suppose because we're such a social media driven business, we want to make our actual e-commerce website shoppable. In terms of, while it is shoppable, people go there from our social media. We want people to drive straight to the website without any knowledge of social media, that we've that big of a brand developed and that kind of a home name.
Yeah, no, good point. Good point, Niamh. Yeah, fair play. Joe, from a Build for Less point of view, you must have sold out of all the barbecues now anyway. What's the next focus?
Yes, we still got some garden furniture left though. But no, the biggest focus for us, I suppose, so we've built a solid kind of what we'd call a B2C website. Now to focus on the B2B, which would be our account customers. So for them to be able to log in, check how much money they owe on their account, make a payment, see the pricing that they've agreed, and you know, add other delivery addresses. You know, if they've got a job over on the south side of the city, that they can add that delivery address, or that they can do click and collect. I suppose from a retention point of view, we're just about to launch Klaviyo, so just the Magento plugin version of Klaviyo. So that should automate or help to automate a little bit some of the email marketing, and then just brand awareness and Trustpilot as well. Yeah,
and there's a huge amount of plugins and integrations with Klaviyo. Yeah, that'll definitely help massively. Andrew, similar question for you. What's next from 3 Mobile?
Just to, I suppose, continue on and improving the customer journey. I think that's the common theme here amongst all of us. Areas of focus is again identifying a new customer versus a customer that's already been there and providing them that curated view. So that's something that we're already I suppose, some way down the path with that functionality, and it's to continue on and to improve that and enhance that, and then ultimately use that information to drive specific offers based on the customer's intent and interaction with your website. So that'll be a key focus for us the end of this year and the start of next year.
Okay. And Ger, final word over to you. I suppose key tips and advice and focus for everyone.
Well, I suppose one of the things that we're definitely looking into in more detail is the putting the online and in-store closer together. Obviously, we've had lots and lots of experience over the years doing all of this online, but you can even see from the number of new customers that people have had online, that, you know, a lot of the activity obviously is always going to be and still is in the stores. And we're a big believer in physical retail as well, even though we're an e-commerce agency. So our, you know, one of the key focuses that we'll be working on over the next 12 to 18 months is combining the view of the customer. So kind of, you know, there's this kind of holy grail of the single view of customer, the 360-degree view, but at least to start getting that information from the EPOS and ERP systems into the data platforms. Klaviyo, for example, is a project we'd like to look at fairly soon, but also into the kind of the data studios and things like that. So that's one of the areas that we're going to be working on. I think it's a critical thing. Like, I have a big belief, again, you know, maybe a little bit strange from an e-commerce agency, but I think that e-commerce will help facilitate some of the regeneration of the smaller towns. I think if you look at the example of Love Cherish in Charleville, where they're able to operate their own store, but they're also able to operate a national and very successful business. And that will allow, that kind of e-commerce allows the small towns an opportunity to have businesses that thrive locally, even though the kind of footfall that they might get isn't exactly Grafton Street. So, so for me, I suppose it's about trying to get the physical stores and the e-commerce side of things closer together all the time. I think it's going to be key for the next number of years. So that's my piece.
That's good. That's good advice, Ger. I think the footfall on Grafton Street now, I don't think anyone would want that figure at the minute. But you know, I get what you're saying. I'm just going to leave up a poll there for any of the attendees in terms of if they'd like to receive a copy of the slides afterwards. You can fill it in there, and we'll send it out to you directly. So I think that's it, guys. I think it was a very interesting conversation, bang on 4 o'clock. So good timing, and thanks to the panel, Jennifer, Andrew, Neve, and Joe. It was great to have you. Great conversation, fair play on all the great work you're doing. Ger and Louise, really interesting insights. Love the graphs, and plenty of takeaways there. So thanks for joining us today and putting in a fair bit of work, all right, to pull that together. So no bother, and we'll leave it there, guys. So thanks, guys.
Thanks, Keelan.
Thank you.
Thanks a million. Thank you.
No bother. I will finish up there now.